Really, once you're at the stage of harvest, a lot of it comes down to making sure the combine is properly adjusted so that you don't damage the seed while you're combining. Of course, it's really ideal if you already have a field that's at the proper moisture with very little weeds and other debris in the field that's going to cause issues during harvesting. Something like ragweed and foxtail or other weeds can cause staining of the seed. It can give the seed off odors. And can also cause the seed to heat up. Now you can see that this combine looks a little bit different than most combines you've probably seen in the field. That's because this is a plot combine. A plot combine is specially designed to harvest research plots, which is what we do here at Borderview Farm. And you can see that it mostly is just much smaller than a normal combine, with a feeder house on it that is, you know, generally only about 5 feet wide to be able to bring in small plots one at a time. It also has special cleaning equipment to help keep plots separate as you're harvesting them, giving us the ability to weigh individual plots.
One thing is that get a general idea on what kind of rotor speed and combine speed that normally you use for different types of grain. Combining grains are all theoretically the same process, just different adjustments for different crops. One of the main things you want to be careful of is your reel speed. If your reel is going too fast, it'll strip the grain off the straw before you even get a chance to cut it. And the other thing is your rotor speed. You readjust your rotor speed and check. I say this to myself and to whoever else happens to run the equipment. You want to check everything when you first start harvesting and check it over again and check it again to get everything adjusted. This is a rasbar rotor, and they're different types. This is an old type. It may look different than the commercial type harvester, but the principle is still the same. You want to adjust your concave, your distance between your rotor, your concaves below it. If it's too tight, you get seed damage. If it's too far apart, you don't get good harvest. You leave a lot of seed on the stalk. You want to make sure that your ground speed is proper. If you go too fast, you get too much material going into the combine at once, so it builds up in the thresher and it doesn't clean out properly, so you start getting blockage and you start getting seed that gets backed up. So there's a lot of things to consider. Always check the cleaner and make sure that the sieves are cleaning out and you're not going too fast and getting a buildup. Make sure that you check and make sure the seed's not coming out the back. Your fan speed that you use to clean out the trash, you're going to try to get the seed as clean as possible so you don't have to go through it again when you get back to the farm or wherever you're storing the seed, but you don't want to get it to the point where it's so clean that you're losing a lot of seed out of the back. So these are all points to be thinking about.
When you're getting ready to harvest, know that, especially if it's your first time, it's going to take some time to get the combine properly adjusted. You can look in the manuals or online for different recommendations on setting fan speed or rotor speed. But ultimately, it's really going to come down to really each individual field and crop that you're going to have to make adjustments on once you get into the field to combine. And that could take some time to get everything dialed.
But that's the best time you're going to spend if you want to have a quality product and you want to have the maximum yield, is spend those first couple hours to make sure everything's adjusted properly. And like Heather mentioned, just the manual will give you a rough guesstimate on where to set speeds on your equipment, and once those are, try it with the crop and see what the results you get out the back.
First thing we're going to show you is the reel speed, and again, if the reel is moving too fast, it'll start to knock the grain off of the heads before you even get them into the combine, which obviously you don't want to lose grain that way. So take it away. And the reel should turn at very similar to the ground speed of moving the combine, of driving the combine. When Roger first started moving the combine, he had the reel going really fast to demonstrate basically that that's too fast for the reel to go. But the reel itself should turn at the ground speed or similar to that you're moving the combine. Okay.
For barley, we want to run between 600-700 RPM. That varies on different combines, of course. As you can see, the rotor spins quite a bit faster than what your feeder house brings the feed in, so that it kind of holds it back and it threshes the grain off it. If you go too fast, that's where you can get kernel damage. If you go too slow, then you're not going to get all the grain off. So very important to make sure the rotor is set properly and the concave is set properly. That's the distance between the rotor and the concave where it strips against to get the seed off.
So if the rotor and the concave aren't set properly, you can see that there's broken kernels in this handful of grain. And that's exactly what you don't want. When you have broken kernels or skin kernels, there's another one right there, that lowers the malting efficiency. So the grain will not malt as well. And in terms of delivering it to the malt house, they won't be very happy with the quality with a lot of broken grain or skin grain. You want to make sure the combine is set properly so that you don't have these particular issues.
We want to make sure our fan speed, which cleans the dust and the chaff out of the combine, that is set at the proper speed. And you'll see when we try it here, we'll show what happens when the fan speed is too high. It'll start blowing the seed out the back, which you don't want to do that. You want to keep it all in the combine. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and run it.
The fan speed is set pretty well for that particular grain, where we've just put some wheat through those plots and we caught what was coming out of the back. So that means we had the blower turned up to a certain speed, and what we're trying to do is find a sweet spot between getting the chaff out and the weed seeds and the straw and debris, and separating that from the grain that we're trying to harvest. So we don't want to lose very much out of the back of the combine, but sometimes you're going to have a little bit of loss. And you can see here, you know, we have a tiny bit of grain that was blowing out of the back of the combine. And in some cases, these may just actually be light kernels. So it's not always a bad thing if there's a little bit of grain coming out of the back of the combine, because it may be lower quality seed. And in the whole scheme of things, this is a very small amount of grain. And the grain that came through the combine looks pretty clean, and we'll probably leave it right there at that fan speed to continue harvesting.